welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another show of Sports Unplugged. Callum will be joining us. He's just running a little bit late, but he will be joining us this evening. He was doing another show, and rightly so. He keeps himself busy. But Connor, how are we? My co-host.
Excellent, mate. Excellent. Looking forward to another show. We've got an action-packed one tonight, haven't we? Plenty going on.
It's been popping off. And we've got to go straight into it because we only get an hour and 15, an hour and 30 if Gav's in a good mood with me. So we're going to go straight into it. And the big news that's coming out of Old Trafford today in the early hours whilst I was sleeping, my phone was popping off, is CR7 to United. How are we feeling about this, Connor? I just didn't know, and I didn't think that he would make a return back to Old Trafford. I thought that time had sort of passed, especially once he had left for Juventus. I thought that this deal would never happen, but it seemed as if maybe his agent, George Mendes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe he was using this Ronaldo deal to City as a pawn for United to come in. I don't know the logistics of it, but what do you make of it? It's incredible. I think he's set to earn 480,000 a week. He's 36. Does this propel him? Does this make them favorites now for the title?
Well, I mean, it's difficult to say with a 36-year-old. You can't really say straight away, even though it is Ronaldo and we all know his qualities, he's 36 years old. So, I mean, when have we seen a player at the pinnacle of the European game go past that age? I can't think of anyone, really. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know defenders and goalkeepers can prolong their career, and Ronaldo is sort of a physical specimen like we've not really seen before. Obviously, we know he takes care of himself and he's obsessed with self-improvement. But it's a tough one because I really can't see it being a transfer for for the long term. Of course, it's interesting as well because we say CR7 to United, it's not going to be CR7 anymore. Is there going to be a feud?
I was about to say, who's got the current 7 shirt?
Cavani, I think.
Cavani. Oh, yeah. I don't think he'll give it up.
Yeah, I don't think he will. But then, I mean, this is Ronaldo we're talking about. Is he not going to demand that? Would that not be a prerequisite where he to sign a contract with United that he gets his CR7 is his brand? Like, without having that shirt, it affects his global brand.
I tell you what, it shocked me, this transfer, because I never thought. I can see why Woodward and the Glazers would think it's a great sort of marketing machine, sort of signing, and it will sell shirts and stuff. I totally get that. But in terms of his age, and I just when you think United have turned the corner by buying the right players in, and the right players I mean is they brought in Rafael Varane, who's a winner, who's arguably one of the best defenders of recent times. We know he's won the Champions League, the World Cup. He's been a steady Eddie at Madrid. He's been brilliant. And you thought him alongside Maguire, that's an astute signing. That's going to be, their centre-backs for the next sort of 3-4 years, you'd imagine. Sancho, which you always felt a deal was already done sort of last summer. And you thought, you know what, he's the right signing for them. And you just thought, you know what, they're maybe a little bit short in midfield. They need a midfield type. I fear that they could have got a used Basuma, but we'll come on to Basuma, in a little while. But is he the signing for them? And do you think Ollie will sort of structure them the right way? And do you think he suits United's play in terms of rhythm? And I know he's the GOAT, and his goal scoring record for Juventus last season was phenomenal, even the season before that. But I don't know, is this another signing where they've gone back to old ways again? Like, just went out and saw Ronaldo, saw the opportunity, saw this money-making machine. They thought for the next 2-3 years they can go again, and went out and just got him and paid him whatever he wanted.
Yeah, and obviously there's that window that sticks in the mind with United and their recent sort of transfer dealings. The Schneiderlin, Schweinsteiger, I can't even remember who else they signed that summer. Darmian. They got some players that they thought were the big names at the time that would propel them to back to the position that they wanted to be at in the league, and it just didn't happen for whatever reason. I think United. Ronaldo to United is a different story because you say, right, is he the transfer for them? Is he the transfer for the positions they need? Ronaldo, when he's on the market, is the transfer for anyone. If you can afford Ronaldo, it's the same thing with Messi. If you've got the financial capability to get him into your squad, you do it. From a merchandising perspective, of course, that answers itself. He will make money for the club on a financial and on a financial scale that no other player in their current squad would, more than Pogba comfortably, I'd say. In terms of where he'll fit within the squad, that's a different question, and I think we'll come on to that a little later. Whether he fits with Ollie's style as a centre forward, I don't really know.
Does Ollie have a style? Is it do you think it's just the counter attack where they hit play, where they have a patch, don't they, in games where it's like a 10-15 minute spell where they'll get sort of too quickly, or they'll have spells in the game where they just hit teams on the counter with pace. I just can't see. I felt in the Euros he stagnated Portugal's rhythm and sort of play. You could see it. It was really evident. Hence, they didn't really have a great tournament. Yet I think he's top scorer again, wasn't he, in the Euros? Tom Boland makes a great point. I think it was like Kieran. Smells of Sanchez again. Even Fred. Fred was set to go to Man City from Shakhtar. And I think Mourinho stepped in and said, no, I want Fred. And they did it. And then Sanchez was set for City, wasn't he, a season before? But then Arsenal had held firm. And then he went in January, but it was United who nipped in again and got him. I think this is I don't know how serious the Ronaldo to City talks were. I don't know whether City were actually exploiting this option and they sort of backed out, or Ronaldo said, look, if United are there, I'll go to United. So it just baffles me. It just baffles me. And I think we're seeing so much uncertainty. I've heard today that PSG have rejected another offer from Real Madrid for Kylian Mbappe. So it looks as if he's staying put. So there seems to be a lot of panic buying. And is this what you envision sort of from the next sort of 3-4 days, just absolute pandemonium?
I mean, that is what the final days of the transfer window always entail. You know, panic buying gets labelled and thrown around as what clubs do in the final stages of the market. I'm sure there is a bit more planning that goes into it. Then they're rarely snap decisions. But in terms of the City involvement in the aspect, I mean, Barry said that City offered him and said no. I've heard similar, but I've also heard, that City were very close to a deal. And yet, yesterday everyone was reporting that he was saying, United came out and said and put their offer on the table, and Cristiano was still a bit undecided. So it very much depends on the media briefing that these journalists are given. Clubs want to save face. Clubs want to maintain that they have the pick of the players and that they turn the players down. United are absolute experts in that field. How many times in the last few years have we seen United make strides to sign a player, and then the next day when the players had a change of heart or opted for a different club, the media will have a briefing saying United were never interested. They sounded the player out and they realized he wasn't for them, and they wanted to put their interest elsewhere. We have to be very careful in looking at these sources and actually analyzing how reputable, how valid the information they're providing is, and where they're getting the sources from. I think personally, City were obviously rebuffed by Daniel Levy in the last week or so.
Okay.
And that's clear for Kane. He was their number one target, whether that was driven by the club. I know Pep Guardiola was very, very strong in his admiration for Kane and his pursuit for Kane. So they were obviously turned away. Apparently, Levy just entertained no offers whatsoever. So they had to turn their attention elsewhere. Ronaldo recently came out and said, look, I want to move, put himself on the market. Juve had no say in this. City inevitably turned to him.
I think Juve wanted to get rid of him purely because of his wages and purely because of the current plight in the Italian league. Like we've seen it with Inter, they won the league, and they had to they couldn't give Conte what he wanted, so he walked. He couldn't, strengthen the squad. And then you've seen Lukaku go, and they were flirting Lautaro Martinez about in Europe. If Real Madrid and Barcelona had more, if they had a bit of money, I think Lautaro Martinez was set to go to Barca. I really do believe that, or maybe in England, but it's just so watertight right now that he's had to stay put. This Ronaldo deal, I think it's more money motivated, and it seems as if they've gone back to their old ways where it was a perfect opportunity, the return home, the prodigal son, whatever you want to call him, and they've said, let's bring him in, and hoping that he propels them to the title or the Champions League for that matter. But is ego an issue now, Conor? You've got Pogba there, you've got Bruno there. You've got Cristiano Ronaldo there now. I don't really hear the murmurs about Sancho having an ego, but obviously the player that he is and the way he comes across a little bit, he's confident of himself. Is there an issue there at United right now? Could there be an issue going down the season? And do you see them now as title favourites, and where do you think they finish in the league?
It's a difficult one to sort of hypothesize about the attitude problems within a club, because obviously we're not privy to that. We don't understand what's going on. All we see is what's released to the media. So I think
good comment by Joshua Pritchard there, who went off at me on Twitter today, but it's fine.
Your biggest fan
is Martial has an ego too. Yeah, I've seen there's murmurs of that as well. I just want to get Callum onto the stream. Callum, my man, how are you? You don't need to apologize. Don't worry. We'll talk about that later on.
I do have to apologize. Avi, Conor, apologies for my lateness. Everyone in the comments, apologies. My other show ran over, so I do apologize about that. Thanks for having me.
No, it's a pleasure to have you, mate. So, Cal, I'm just gonna quickly give you the look. We're talking about CR7 to United. Obviously, news.
Egos in the club. Will that, will the introduction of Cristiano into the club have an effect on the egos, the balance within the squad?
Yes, it probably will, but I don't think it will affect them too much. Where, I mean, you have to look at it. They've got Pogba. Pogba's got an ego, and again, I actually don't think having an ego is a bad thing, as people make out. If I want to be honest, Pogba's got an ego. Martial's got an ego. I'm sure Varane's got an ego. De Gea's got an ego. Cavani's probably got an ego. The problem is
we've seen
whether Oli can deal with the egos, because we know Klopp can deal with egos. Mourinho's, as good as he was in early parts of his, career, couldn't really deal with egos that were bigger than his, and Mourinho's got a pretty big ego. I actually don't think it's going to be an issue having those players around Ronaldo. I think that will actually help him, because one thing that we've kind of seen from Ronaldo is he wants to be with players who are matching his mentality. And I think you've got that in a lot of the players. Plus, he's going to raise the mentality of some of those players who kind of don't lose sleep when they lose. Like Ronaldo loses sleep when he loses. And if you can breed that mentality throughout a team, I actually think it helps what they're trying to build there.
Cal, you made a point there about Mourinho, and when he had Lukaku, Ibra, Pogba, we know that he found it a little bit troubling and sort of getting them into sort of this cohesive way of playing. And we know at the end, obviously, ultimately it cost him his job, and ultimately cost Lukaku his United career, because he was made a scapegoat, which was a little bit unfair. Goes to Inter and rejuvenates himself and comes back to Chelsea. Do you think Oli has the personality to handle these big personalities as well? Do you think he can? I know he's probably got a great relationship with Ronaldo, obviously being ex-United players, and obviously Ronaldo coming back. But does he have that does he have that nous about him to handle these big egos? And second of all, does this make them title contenders?
So can I answer the second question first? Second question: are they title contenders? Yes, they have to be. And for any Man United fan saying, "Oh, well, we haven't got a DM," yes, there is not one team in world football who have got an absolutely complete squad. So don't give me that, "Oh, we haven't got a DM, we can't challenge." You just had a sum where you bought Varane, Sancho, and Cristiano Ronaldo. If that's not title contention, and you guys are claiming that Pogba's the best centre midfielder in the world, you're saying Bruno's the best 10 in the world. A lot of people are saying Varane's the best centre back in the world. A lot of people are still saying De Gea's the best goalkeeper in the world. Saying Luke Shaw's better than Andy Robertson. So if you've got all these players who are phenomenal, you've got to be challenging for the title. You've got to be in contention.
They'll still tell you they're a midfield short. Just wanting to cut in there. They'll still tell you they're a midfielder short.
Look, can you blame them? Can you blame them? I mean, what, they've got McTominay, Fred. Who are they?
But they spent money on these players, Conor. They spent 40 million on Matic, 55 million on Fred.
All right, so I'm going to ask you that question, Conor. If someone was to turn around and say City aren't title rivals because they haven't got a striker, we'd laugh as well, though, wouldn't we?
Well, I mean, I think we can look at it objectively and say, sure, they are definitely title contenders, and I don't deny that Man United are as well. They've got a hugely expensive squad with talent stacked in all areas. They have a completely rounded squad with a couple small gaps, but I think we can still, speak objectively and say, yeah, they do have a gap at DM, and City have a gap at centre forward. But the thing is, if you have the coaching and the players that you can put in those gaps, then they don't really become gaps anymore. I mean, with City, you can play Sterling as a false nine, you can play De Bruyne, Foden as a false nine. You've got Gabriel Jesus, who, I mean, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, this guy was talked about as being the centre forward prodigy,
the Aguero replacement.
Yeah,
exactly. So I mean, we can't look at them and say, right, they've got massive weaknesses in certain areas. For me, there are 4 title contenders, and everyone knows who they are: Chelsea, Liverpool, City, United. Every single one of those teams has got a stacked squad with excellent players. So it will, for me, come down to the finer details of where do the injuries happen and how do they, adversely affect those teams. Which coaches can get the best out of them, and ultimately a run of form. Who can become, who can carry that momentum into sort of long stretches of the season.
Completely agree with that. I completely agree with that. I just think no Man United fans can sit here if they don't. Let's say Man United finish 4th.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that's a massive failure.
Poor season, of course it is.
Yeah,
that's a massive failure. Like, dare I say it, out of everyone in the top 4, I genuinely believe that we've got the squad that if we turn around and finish 4th, no one can say you've underperformed. Like Chelsea, you've gone and spent a big wad of money. City do what they always do and they haven't lost any of their players apart from Aguero, but Aguero barely played the last season and a half. And Manchester United have gone out and added 3 top quality players. If one of those teams finish 4th, I genuinely believe the manager's head is on a spike. Whereas if Klopp finishes 4th, and I pray to God it doesn't happen, obviously I want us to win the league. But if Klopp finishes 4th, I don't think anyone could turn around and say, well, you had everything you absolutely needed at your disposal to go and win the league. Like, those other managers, in my opinion, have pretty much been given everything. And it seems as though Chelsea is still trying to go hard for Koundé and Saul. Apparently talk is Man United wants Saul as well.
I think he's staying
these
put.
Teams get what they want.
I
hope so.
I think he's staying put.
If he's not coming Liverpool, I don't want him going anywhere.
I think it is that he might stay put. I want to just carry this through a little bit, Callum, and it's obviously I'm going to ask you the question. Seeing Ronaldo go to United, it's a big signing for them. City might still be on the lookout for a Vlahovic. I'm pretty sure they might still bring one in. Chelsea might bring, I think Koundé, they're still trying for that.
Mm.
Does this make Liverpool react, or are we staying put and literally just shut up and shop and just take Konate and Bobby Clark, who's come in as well, who's going to go straight obviously to the academy? But no, I'm just confirming what we've got, right? I'm confirming what we've got, but like
I
literally,
hope someone clips that up, because if that gets taken out of context,
exactly. I'm in the mud right now. Anyway,
I'm going to run with the narrative for fun as well.
I'm in the mud anyway with this Mbappe stuff. But do you think that this might go? I know there was talk of Basuma. There's wild hot takes saying that maybe Coutinho on loan. Let me ask you the question. I know you're not happy with the current business, but would you take Basuma and Coutinho come 1st of September?
Basuma 100%. I think you know me anyway. I mean, you know I'm a massive Basuma fan. Basuma 100%. Coutinho, you know my thoughts on Coutinho. I don't want him back. I just can't we find another girl at the prom? Like, did we have to always go back to our ex? Even if he was willing to come in for half the way, a big reduction in wages, a little maybe statement. I don't think he'll ever apologize, but a little statement saying, "Look, I'm back. I'm going to give it my all." A 2-year loan, it still wouldn't entice you to go out and buy him. What's he on at the moment? Wages wise, probably about 400k, right?
Well, close to that. But again, Avi, I don't think earlier you were talking about, United signing players to fill holes and it being, or not to fill holes, and it being sort of a vanity signing. I think Liverpool, if they went out and got Coutinho, it would be the same sort of thing. They would be signing a player to react to other teams going out and spending money for those sort of high caliber, sort of bigger names. I don't think you need Coutinho.
Is he not a strong option on the bench? A fully fit Coutinho under Klopp, is he not a good option on the bench? Or even, obviously, I'm sure if he did come, we're talking hypothetically right now, but if he did come, doesn't he give us a bit more variation in our play? Does he not give us more options?
What about Taki? Huh? He's your star boy, isn't he? Huh?
Look, I'm always going to back him to the hilt, right? I'm always going to back, Taki to the hilt. But look,
if you're asking me between Taki and Coutinho,
he's going to take Coutinho.
I am, but here's a problem: is Coutinho even going to stay fit for a whole season?
Yeah, and that's the thing.
The Coutinho we
had to consider all of these factors. You've got to consider the financials.
3 knee 3 knee ops recently, if I'm not mistaken. That's a lot of surgery on your knees. Like in a Klopp system, if there's one thing you need, it's your knees, and he's not shown that he's durable, and that's at Barcelona.
Great comment by Laura Duffy, though. Suggests that Coutinho doesn't have a number at Barca. So he does suggest that Kia Trabchin, who is his agent, who we've dealt with in the past with Mascaron and whatnot, that they are trying to flirt him out. Like, look, we know Barca, and they're literally in desperate need of getting rid of some players. Callum, if there was 2 players that you would like realistically that we could maybe get, I'd say Basuma's one. Give me another name that you'd ideally like.
I'm laughing because I know you and Chris are going to laugh at this. I really wanted Neto, but now I've heard that he's gone through bad rehab and he's not coming out. He's not going to be playing for a little while. I actually don't know who. I think we need a wide forward. Especially if we're going to use Jota as a centre forward this season, I think we need another wide forward because all it takes is for Mane or Salah to get out of form and back to square one again. I don't know who I'd want at the wing though.
Adama Traore for 35 million. No.
If I want a sprinter, I'll try and get Usain Bolt, bro. Like
Callum Hudson-Odoi.
You know, we actually had interest in him though. Three years ago, we did have interest in CHO. We did have interest, but I don't think we'll get him. But Cal, who is there? Literally, who is there? Like Vinicius Junior, Rodrigo, who Real Madrid want to get rid of.
I mean, I'd probably try my hand at maybe someone like a Moussa Diaby from Leverkusen.
Yeah, Leverkusen. Yeah, good shout. Jeremy Doku.
No. We need someone who can come in and say, in the same way Jota did, come in and say to Mane and Salah, you have 1 or 2 bad games, I'm starting, and you're going to have to wait till I fall out of form before you start playing again. I don't want to see project signings in that position unless we go. Let's say, for example, we got, I don't know, Rafinha, and then we added Doku onto that. I'm good because then I see you're covering both bases. But let's not bring in Doku, and then if Mane hits bad form, a whole heap of pressures on Doku now, who's a kid. For me, it just doesn't make sense. Might as well just use Taki if that's the case.
That needs to happen, though. That needs to happen. If you're going to buy quality young backups, they need to be able to fill the gaps if and when an injury occurs. You know, you can't have superstars sitting on the bench, or else that leads to a disgruntled squad. Midnight Toker makes a good claim in the chat. Now, I'll post the comment. I don't think it will happen. Serge Gnabry, I don't think it happens unless Mane goes. But I would love, speaking objectively, I would love to see what Klopp could do with Gnabry, because he's turned into one of those ruthless, decisive, clinical inside forwards that Klopp would just love to get his hands on. Someone like Heung-min Son. Can you imagine?
I've spoken endlessly about Gnabry. So many people who watch our streams will know or think that I overrate him. I think the guy is special, man. I really do think he's special. He can play right, left, center. He's great at finishing. He can beat it. Like, he's one of the only wingers I've seen playing against Robbo and thought Robbo's on a bit of problem here because he's not dealing with it too well. He's excellent. The only thing again with him, though, injuries get him quite a bit.
I think I've got a super chat here from Adrian. Thank you for the super chat. Does no signings diminish Liverpool's title chances? Cal?
Yes.
Oh, so you think that we could be in trouble if we don't make it?
No. So no, I should probably clear that up. Actually, I don't think we're in trouble as such. But
not trouble, but like, you don't think we can? Okay, go on.
No, I think we can still win the league, but I think a lot of things would have to go in our favor. And the reason why I say diminish is because I think if we were to sign 2 players, I think we go from being a club that can win the league to being, in my opinion, the favourites.
Yeah, got it. I think, Callum, you know me, I'm really optimistic. I'm always positive. You know me on the WhatsApp groups and whatnot. When there's like absolute turmoil, especially when Kieran Thorne or when Bracky's on one as well. But I still think that we can challenge. I think without a signing, it does leave us short. And we're again relying on a 30-year-old Bobby. Next year, Mane and Salah hitting the 30s, Jota, and we need him to be fit and firing all 4. I think that is a lot of that is a lot of workload on them, a lot of pressure. So I think ideally I would like one. There was another name that was popped up yesterday as well, Lucas Ocampos. He's not one for me. I'm sorry. He's not.
I mean, I think a lot of people are sleeping on him because they've heard him sort of banded around in his early career. You know, he went out to Monaco very early on. Yeah, he went out to Monaco very early on. Did he go to Marseille after that? I think
Marseille did a stint. He's at Seville now.
Seville, that's where. Yeah, I've seen him a couple of times at Seville, and he's been impressive, man. I see him as almost like a baby CR7, right? He's one of those players who just has a nose for the attacking.
That's a hot take. That's a hot take.
Someone clip that.
Yeah, that's a hot take, bro. I'm not gonna.
He's had one too many. He's been on the apple juice. It's that apple juice that you two have from Waitrose. It's what you do. I'm telling you. But listen, just going back to so we did a little preview yesterday with Matisse Callum, obviously on yesterday on Carnage. Yeah. We want to go back to this game tomorrow. How are you feeling? Are you confident? And do we get the win versus Chelsea tomorrow? And how do you see us lining up in midfield? Because I've seen some lineup saying that it'll be Fabinho, Hendo, and Elliott who will get the nod again. But I would love to get your take on it.
So I think the game can go either way, but I do think we will win. I think it's going to be a really tough game because I think Chelsea are very good, but I do think them playing a back three actually will play into our hands, especially because it will mean one of their midfielders has to drop deeper to get the ball as well, which means we can squeeze the pitch more and press a bit better. I'm very interested to see how the battle goes with Virgil and Lukaku, because even though Virgil is all worldly, he's not at his peak at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see whether this game comes a bit too soon for him or he's able to adapt to a style of play maybe. In terms of winning the game, I think we'll win 2-1. In terms of lineup, I'd love to see Hendo, Fabinho, and Thiago.
So you're dropping my man Naby then?
Yeah.
You've never taken to him, have you? You just feel that he's going to break down, don't you?
I think he's going to break down, but I don't see anything special in him. And I'm not saying you have to be special to playing a Klopp midfield. There's nothing strikes me and thinks, this guy can't be left out of the team. For me, Thiago just does it.
Don't you think they're programmed though in a certain way in a Klopp system?
Yeah, they are, but we still see Thiago still do have flashes of brilliance. We still see Henderson go and press where he's not meant to be pressing, winning the ball back and setting us off again. We see him, and again, Henderson. Another thing that I think is massively underrated with Henderson is his creativity. Like he creates a lot of chances. A lot of things and does a lot of things people don't give him credit for. I think Henderson gives you that athleticism. Fabinho just absolutely just shuts up shop and just plugs holes and gaps all over the pitch. I think Thiago gives you that extra bit of stability as well as source in midfield with ball retention and chance creation as well.
See, I think it'll be hopefully Fabinho's, obviously we know about what happened with his father and stuff, and prayers obviously go towards him. But I hope Fabinho, Henderson, and I'm going with Naby. I like Naby against Norwich. I like Naby against Burnley. He looks fitter. I just like his overall gameplay and him alongside the front three. He presses well towards that final third as well. The opposition sort of, defense line. He presses really well. Overall, I don't think he's the greatest of pressers, but for me, he just sort of, if he's fit enough, just play him now. And I know Klopp obviously likes him a lot. Otherwise, he would have been gone a long time ago, like with his fitness issues and whatnot. And I know they've taken care with Naby as well. I see him starting tomorrow, but I wouldn't be adverse to Thiago, Hendo, or Fabinho. I think that works as well. Connor?
Okay. Yeah, let's hear this from the other side then, and I'll pick the Liverpool midfield based on what I would be most afraid of. And somewhat surprisingly, I think I'm gonna man up with my guy Avi here for maybe the first time in our show's history. I'm gonna go on your side.
We're gonna agree on something in life. I mean, in general, in life.
Perhaps, what is it? 5, 6 years, 7 years? This might be the first time. So someone clip that. But yeah, I think I'll agree with you. In if I'm seeing the Liverpool team sheet tomorrow, knowing my side's vulnerabilities, the midfield trio that I'm going to be most afraid of, obviously Fabinho's a dead cert. He's for me the best DM in the league, top 2, 3 in the world in that position, solely in terms of his role. I don't think many come close. I think he's better than Casemiro, but that's another point.
Thank you.
But yeah, we'll save that for another day. But I think Henderson also has to start. And I think, Cal, you raised a really interesting point that Henderson, his creativity and his passing ability has been really slept on in recent years because of that game against Croatia in the World Cup. He's not the same player he was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. You know, he adds real value with his possession. And I almost see it as a bit of overkill, especially if you're against a big side, to have Henderson and Thiago. I know they're not perfectly similar players, but I think they add similar things when in
They bring
possession.
control. They bring control and discipline to that midfield. And a lot of teams that you don't see that at United. You see Pogba, his positioning is awful. I think Pogba on set pieces too, absolutely awful. But you see someone like Henderson, Thiago, Fabinho, they've got brains. And when you've got a midfielder as majestic as Thiago is, and then you got Fabinho, and you implement and Henderson, and you know how much Klopp trusts him. They've got a brain. They know where to be. They might not be blessed. Like for me, Henderson's really quick, but Thiago and Fabinho, they just know where to be and where to press and where to tackle. For me, look, this argument will always go on with Henderson. He'll always be slept on. He won't get the credit that he deserves. Yes, maybe now the media, analysts and whatever you want to call them on Match of the Day and whatnot, they give Henderson his props, but I think he's been brilliant ever since, I would even say from the 2013-14 season, Cal. That 100%. That game against City, if he doesn't get sent off, we don't lose the league. We beat you in that game, and we go on to win the title. But that was pivotal at that moment, and he's gone from strength to strength, taking the captaincy, and he's taken hits as well. This man's lost a League Cup final, the Europa League final in the same year. Then he lost the 2018 Kiev, the FA Cup final under Kenny, and he's come back through all adversity. His dad
Brendan was gonna sell him
for Clint Dempsey. I mean, I wouldn't have been if I was living in America. I would have minded at the time because with the American connection. But it was an absolute hell. Like he's taken his knocks, and it will be a story that forever he will tell the kids, and they might even make a film by it. This guy's been through a lot, and he's one of the honestly, for me, my all-time favorite captain at Liverpool Football Club. He really is. Yeah, no, he is. He is. No. My favorite all-time captain, and I've seen a few captains, but for me, he takes it. I just think that he's absolutely brilliant. Steven Gerrard was a goat. He was a goat. But for me, Henderson's captaincy during 2019-20. Listen, when we won the European Cup against Spurs, it's easy to get complacent. Yeah, it's easy. No, Kakao, I'll tell you where it is. It's easy to get complacent. This will be another hot take, right? Yes. It's easy to get complacent, but he ruled these boys on and the team, and with Klopp, 2019-20, we obliterated the league, Cal. We won it against United at home. And that was with 12, 13 games to spare. We knew as soon as Salah scored the second in the 90th minute, we knew Henderson. We knew he'd won the title, and Henderson was pivotal in that season. The goal away to Wolves, the Spurs game at home when he makes it 1-1, and then we score a second through Salah. His captaincy is just absolutely. He's brilliant for me. The best captain in my sort of lifetime at Liverpool.
So you went from favorite to best. That's it's Steven George Gerrard, bro. Like,
but what's the metrics that you're using? How are you analyzing who's your favorite? Well, I mean, obviously your favorite is your opinion, but how are you analyzing the best? Is it because of the trophies you've won in recent years? Henderson was blessed with a team that Gerrard couldn't have dreamed of.
Yeah, Conor, I get that, but for me, Jordan Henderson. Look, I look at everything, what he's been through on a personal level, right? Being knocked back down time and time again. Gerrard didn't get that. Everyone knew Gerrard was a world-class performer at the age of 21. Right, everyone knew by 21 Gerrard was on his way, and he's an absolute amazing footballer. But for me, Jordan Henderson, from where he came from being on the verge of going out to Fulham, right, and from where he's come from, he's shown so many qualities. And for me as a captain, there'll be a few that agree with me too. There's a few that will agree with me. Jordan Henderson for me is my all-time favorite captain.
Fair enough. But let's get back to the matter at hand. We're talking about tomorrow.
No, I want to hear Cal, because Cal obviously thinks Cal for you will be Gerrard, of course. So I want to hear. I want to hear Cal's take.
Avi, I don't know if you do want to hear Cal.
Yeah, I got. All right, so this is the way I look at it. Yeah, Avi, Henderson is phenomenal as a captain. He's phenomenal. Like, I love Hendo, and look, I'll be one of the first to say, when we signed Virgil, for example, I was like, nope, give the captaincy to Virgil. I've done more. I've had to eat more than humble pie on that. There is no one right now in the squad I'd want to be a captain more than Jordan Henderson. But when it comes to Gerrard, and I think people, I'm not even going to use him as a player, because Gerrard was obviously a better player than Jordan Henderson. But Gerrard would galvanize an average group of players to perform heroic feats. And yes, Gerrard would probably be the one leading the team with the heroic feats. But AC Milan, Henderson for me doesn't do that. FA Cup final, Henderson doesn't do that. Like, we've seen Gerrard do it so many times on so many big levels. And dare I say, if we didn't have Gerrard when we had Gerrard, I genuinely don't think we're speaking about Liverpool. We would have slipped through the cracks big time. For him as a player and a captain, like, and again, I'm biased because I call my little one Stevie, but he's the man. Like, there is no one, in my opinion, in Liverpool's history that can stand with Gerrard as a captain, purely because he had the worst around him. He's the captain who had the worst, and he produced some of the best. Every final he played in, he scored in.
But Cal, you're talking about individual moments.
But that's him being a captain, leading by example.
Yeah, I get that. I get that too. For me, it's just I think it's different. For me, obviously, Steven Gerrard. Look, Steven Gerrard's my favorite player. Don't get me wrong. And obviously, he's up there. And I know there's been a few shouts with Emlyn Hughes as captain, Graham Souness. I get that. But for me, I look at the whole bigger picture and from where the core roots of Jordan Henderson's career and the managers that he's come through as well, and sort of broken through barriers, and to get that leadership, to be trusted by Jurgen Klopp. For me, it's Jordan Henderson. But we'll move on because I'm getting absolutely battered in the comments.
No, so that one thing I will say is I don't think it's even though I don't agree with what you said, Avi, I don't think it's a stupid or crazy shout. Like, that's one thing I will say. Like, Henderson's fully got my respect.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is to do with semantics as well. It depends on how you define your favorite. No one can deny if you say, like, this guy is my favorite player. And now for me, I could say Joe Cole is my favorite Chelsea player, and I wouldn't be lying. And people give me pelters and say, Ratata, Lampard, Hazard, Terry, whatever. That sort of thing is subjective. So, you got to accept that you will get pelters for it, but no one can tell you that you're wrong. So
facts.
There we go. Facts. Anyway, let's keep it moving.
So Liverpool, Chelsea, Conor, you're going for a Liverpool win, aren't you?
Okay. Where have you pulled that one from? Yes, absolutely. No.
You went for a draw, didn't you, yesterday?
I went for a draw and I'm sticking by it. I think 1-1. I think it'll be a cagey game. I'm really, really looking forward to it, actually. And I think it will have a huge impact on the sides. I know we said earlier on that we've seen the Premier League top four assemble these super teams. I think games like this are going to be pivotal because they set the tone for fixtures to come. They initiate momentum. If either one of our sides wins this game, we're going to, think of the morale boost to that side. I think I can see whoever wins this game, if there's a winner, going on a huge run and potentially, because this is so early in the season, solidifying a place at the top of the table and potentially winning. So I see this as maybe a hot take, potential title decider.
Wow, already 3 games in. Cal, do you see these two teams just cancelling each other out tomorrow and just not settle for a draw, but just like it'll be like one of those ball games where it's just too much sort of tactical, like too much safeguarding one another and just settling for that draw? Is that how you see it, or do you see us sort of like attacking them and then them trying to break us on the counter attack?
Yeah, I think that can definitely happen. The reason why I don't think it would happen is because I think both teams, even though Conor, you say it's going to be a title decider, I think both teams will think, right, let's go for this, because if we don't win it, then we know we can still make it up throughout the season. I think if this game had come maybe February, then I think this has got 0-0 or 1-1 written all over it. I think both teams will go for it. And when I say go for it, I'm not saying all out attacking football from both sides. I think we'll be sort of the one who are leading the charge, and then I think Chelsea will try and play on the counter and try and slow the game down to their pace and frustrate and stifle us. But I don't think it'll be a 0-0. I think it'll be quite an entertaining game.
Yeah, and I don't see it as being a title decider as well. When you think that there's United, there's City, I think it's a long way. I think there'll be more points dropped. What are we looking at the benchmark this season, Cal? Do we say 80 to 85 wins it this season, or do we think more?
You know what? I reckon 80 to 85. And the reason I say that is because you look at the top 4. This is probably the strongest the top 4 teams have been at the same time for a very, very long time. But even when you look below the top 4, Aston Villa, Leicester, 2 very good teams. West Ham, you're getting a tune out of West Ham. So it's not just a case of dropping points against the big four or the top four. It's also looking at some of the teams below that. I mean, like Tottenham, even on their day, can be a problem, as Man City found out. I don't see any team getting 90+ points this season.
See, this is where I disagree with you, Cal. I disagree because I think that although, like you say, the differences between the top 4 teams have become marginal over the last couple of, this window in particular. And I think the gap between them has really, really condensed. I think the sort of golfing quality between the top 4 and the rest of the league,
the Everton, Spurs,
hasn't been wider since, I don't know, 2005, 2006, that sort of era, when there was
since
that
Arsenal,
top
since
4.
Arsenal United, really, since Wenger and Fergie days, maybe.
Well, I mean, then you had a top 2, you had a defined top 2, and then after that, you had Chelsea United as a defined top 2. I mean, again, you had that golfing quality, but I'm seeing us moving in that direction and nothing else, especially with the financial inequality between these top elite sides and the money that's being pumped in. I know it sounds hypocritical coming from a Chelsea fan, backed by our, oil sugar daddy and Roman, but I mean, I do see that gap only increasing in size, and I think this year is going to be really evident of that. And I think we'll see the gap between, I don't know about first and second, but I think between at least 4th and 5th, or even 5th and 6th, or 6th and 7th, that gap between those elite tier financial powerhouses and the rest of the league being really, really stretched and significant.
You might be right. I just think when teams have effectively got over 90 points, though, because wasn't it Chelsea did the 90, was it 94, 95 points
94
they did?
In 2004.
When we did 97 and lost out to City on 98, we only lost one game that whole season.
Yeah. Which was against them away, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was against them. The season where we got 99 points, what did we lose? 3 games, but that was after everything was sort of wrapped up, and then
we lost to City away, didn't we? And then
Watford,
the Watford game, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Arsenal away, we dropped that silly game against Arsenal. I don't see a season where the top 4 don't take points of each other quite regularly this season. Like, you can go and look at any top 4 game at the moment and think, yeah, that could go either way. Whereas before, I don't think that was the case.
But I mean, last season we had a lot of, I don't know if it's pandemic ball or what, but I mean, you look at the games between the top 4 seasons, the top 4 clubs, the majority of the outcomes were draws.
Yeah.
And that's favorable for high point scoring seasons. So who knows? It's way too early in the season to speculate about that sort of thing. But I really do think that we will see a high point scoring winner this year.
Fair enough. I think I'm with Cal. I think 80 to 85 will win it this season. I think with fans back in, they'll be roaring their teams on as well. I think that'll play a factor as well. Yeah. I think the likes of West Ham, Everton, Spurs, Arsenal, I think they'll take a few points. I know Arsenal are away to City tomorrow as well. I think City will win that. But there's a few games where I think the teams from 5th till about 8th, 9th, they might trouble the top 4. But we'll move swiftly on. So, Cal, we play this game since this show has started. 3 fantasy players. He's winning at the moment. So we picked 3 fantasy, this fantasy football malarkey game that people play. We picked 3 players to watch out for. So last week, Connor, who did I pick last week?
Can we show the graphic, please? I don't know.
You can't show the graphic, but you can tell everyone who I picked. So I picked.
So we pick 3 gems each week that we recommend. At the start, the rules were a bit wishy-washy, and we didn't know, the parameters and things. And so Avi did a really, really solid first week. He picked Sergio Canos, who got him 11 points, the highest point scorer of any individual. Very good shout from him.
Good shout.
And then last week, he picked Ben White, Keanu Hoiber, and Taki Minamino, who got him a
I thought Taki might start against Bernie. I had been drinking that night out in when I was on vacation. I had been drinking, so I wasn't even concentrating. And then we had Louis on, and I was like, "Listen, I don't even know who I'm going to pick." And I said, "I'll go with Taki." I thought Taki might get some minutes against Burnley, but this week I've come prepared. So, Cal, do you want to go?
Taki was going to get played against Burnley.
I thought you come on. I thought we would get like a nice sort of 2-3-0 lead, give some Taki some minutes. He hasn't even.
Let me read you the points as well, because
I think I'm on 23. You're on 32, I think. So what?
23-32. But the best thing is, Abby, after week 1, out of your 23 points, you had 22 points. Last week, you got
Got
1 point.
And that was a bonus point. That was a bonus point.
It was a
I think that was a bonus point for just competing in this little thing that I'm doing with you. But three players for the week. Cal, do you want to go first? 3 players to watch out for. We usually just pick some unknowns, but someone like you can pick who you want, really, Cal.
We'll try to avoid the top 6, but if you want to pick top 6, don't go for Salah and Fernandez. They're the only stipulations.
I'm going to go from someone from West Ham. I'm going to go Mikel Antonio. They're playing Crystal Palace. I'm going to go with Aston Villa Brentford. I think I'm going to go with Ings.
Good shout.
Yeah,
and then
so you can't pick.
We can't pick anyone from Tottenham, can we?
Well, you can if you want. I don't think they'll finish the top.
Conor, no Son. That's my only rule.
You can't pick the players now that Cal's picked because I was going to pick Ings, so I've got to scratch Ings now from my list.
That's fine. Mine are always gems. Don't worry.
I'm going to be biased and I'm going to go Basuma again then against Everton.
Yeah, I think that's a very good shout. And I've also picked a Brighton player. So this is one that I'm actually going to be transferring into my team. Not this week because I've used all my free transfers. Don't ask. It's been a shit show from me. But I'm going to go for Adam Webster for Brighton. I think he adds a lot to their.
He's about 34, isn't he? About 34 now, isn't he?
You're chatting.
Who the fuck is that guy? Like, literally, who is that, man? God, like, and you said, I'm sure you said Sean Duffy last week or something. Shane Duffy.
That was you.
Well, that might have been Gar. Might have been Gar in the WhatsApp group. He loves putting his nugget in.
Isn't it? Shane Duffy.
No, Shane Duffy. Yeah, I thought it was you, and I was worried because it would add to your points tally. But it turns out it was Louis Dangour who came on to guest last week. So he said Shane Duffy. You got a clean sheet and a goal. Yeah, shout out to Louis for that shout. Very good shout. But I'm going for Adam Webster. Adds a lot to their attack, actually. Drives forward a lot. And I think Brighton are a very underrated team in terms of defensive solidity. In the last year, in 2021, only City and Chelsea have kept more clean sheets than them. So
I'm a big fan of Potter.
Potential inclusion for them. And he's normally a mainstay in their back line. It took a while to get into it. Came in from Bristol City for fairly big money. I think it might have been their record transfer. But he's slowly but surely starting to integrate himself into the side. So I think he might be a good shout from a defensive point of view. I'm going for another defender. For my next one, it's a West Ham defender. They're playing Palace, who for me look hopeless so far. Failed to score against Brighton, against Chelsea. They look absolutely toothless. I'm going for Vladimir Soufal, right back, fairly creative, really good defensively.
He's a very underrated player for West Ham. He's actually done really well. I do like the look of him. So you've got your 3 now, yeah?
Oh my goodness, no. That comment is
that's your missus, isn't it? That's your missus, isn't it?
We will not address that comment. I don't know who's pinned it, and I don't know if it's true or not. I'm not going to say. That's only 2 of mine. So Vladimir Soufal, Adam Webster, and my final one, Harvey Barnes, a name that Liverpool fans might be watering at the mouth over.
He signed a new contract, didn't he? So
yeah, shame for them because he's a good player. But
I'm going with fairly 3 known players to everyone. I think Dwight McNeil will have a good game against Leeds. I'm going to go with him. I'm going to go with Joe Willock. I think he starts tomorrow against Southampton. I think he gets his home debut, if I'm not mistaken. Laura Duffy will maybe correct me.
I mean, he played for them last season, so he can't have a home debut.
Oh, no. I mean, sort of since he's made his move permanent, Connor. Don't get mouthy, right? Yeah.
Move those.
You want to watch that mouth of yours? You want to watch that mouth of yours? He made it permanent now, right? There's a difference between a loan and a permanent. And I reckon Todd Cantwell might turn up tomorrow for Norwich against Leicester. I think Leicester are missing some centre backs. Vestergaard's out, and Fofana I know is long term. So I fancy Cantwell to get an assist or a goal tomorrow. But yeah, those are my 3. Make sure you update the Excel spreadsheet today. Let me know if you need help with that because I know you.
I will do that.
There's one comment
that's your 2 points taught a whole tally come through. So
there's a comment that came in from Michael Lee, Avi Lewis Diaz going Everton, £25 million plus Hammers. I think that's a fantastic deal for Everton. If they pull that off, that's an incredible deal. I'll rate him. I think he had a great Copa America tournament, and he's one that I've sort of said we should be looking for him.
Yeah, you like him
on the left. Yeah, on the left, or even central, or even on the right. He's so sort of versatile as well, and he's got that bit of bite, the Colombian bite in him. So he's one that I would definitely have looked out for. But if he's going Everton, then Rafa's that's a good signing for Rafa. Do you want to quickly touch upon the cricket, Connor? And
I mean,
I can't even say because I'm actually embarrassed for you, Cal, because you've got Jamaican heritage. You're originally from your family's originally from the West Indies, is that right?
Yeah.
And you don't have any love for the game of cricket. Like if I said to you Brian Charles Lara, you'd be like,
I know. So I know the names. So Curtly Ambrose,
Courtney Walsh,
Brian Lara,
Richie Richardson, Carl Hooper, Chris
Gale,
Philo Wallace.
No, I don't know that.
Ian Bishop, Malcolm Marshall, Clive Lloyd, Sir Vivian.
Sir Vivian.
Come on, Sir Vivian. Look at him just saying Vivian. Sir Vivian to you, right? Sir Vivian.
He's like, they're on first name terms.
I find that incredible. I find that incredible. Is it something that Callum was just never drummed into you, or you just sort of just like didn't have any sort of passion for it?
Just never had the passion for it. Like growing up, for me, it was always football and WWE growing up, or WWF, I'd like to say, growing up, and then it moved from that to boxing. So I always loved boxing as well, and now it's just moved on from that to football, boxing, and MMA. And I'll still watch a little bit of wrestling here and there. But to be honest, it's Chris Brack who keeps me in the loop with wrestling because I keep on falling out of love with it.
Oh, I think after last week when I went to SummerSlam, I think that's the end for me, mate.
Oh yeah, you went, didn't you?
I don't want to deviate into the boxing. In the wrestling talk.
You know what?
In the comments,
because we'll start getting people like literally like falling off. That's the last time I'm going to a wrestling event, but it's incredible that the crowd actually they immerse themselves in it so much. It's incredible. Like I thought UFC events, like that's the real combat sport. But the wrestling, you're getting chants of, John Cena comes out and they're saying, die, John, like literally like shouting like little kids saying, die, John, Roman. Like they're so immersed with it. But it was incredible. Like, I mean, the entrances, seeing like, my heroes like Goldberg was a bit of a hero of mine in WCW and whatnot. Okay. It was great seeing that, but yeah, it's one and out for me. I'm never going to go again. But do you want to quickly comment on the scorecard before we go into the next sort of section, Connor? India was 78 all out. So, Cal, that's not a very high score.
Yeah, I know that's bad.
That's a terrible score. Like,
I know the cricket man, and I know that's bad.
There we go. Even Cal can tell. But you're right. Yeah. It's not a good score. India were bowled out, I think, before tea on the first day, maybe even before lunch. Who even knows? But yeah, a good performance from Jimmy Anderson. As ever, the guy is the best swing bowler in my lifetime.
41 now, is he? He's 40.
Bullshit. He's not in his 40s. Let's have a look about that.
No, he must be 39 or 40. No, he must be. James Anderson has been playing since 2000. I'll tell you what, he's been playing since 2003-4.
He's 39. He's 39. So bang in the middle of us, 39. But yeah, still the king of swing. The guy just seems without deterioration. He seems ageless. The guy's an absolute machine. But yeah, he was impressive. Ollie Robinson as well, good with the ball. But in general, it was just a poor batting performance from India. Bowled out for 78, like you say. But yeah, England came in, posted a really good score, and for once their upper order delivered. I was so shocked to see Rory Burns put in a good knock.
He's a left-handed batsman, Callum. He's a left-handed batsman. Yeah, Callum's like,
good knowledge from you, Abby. I'm surprised. I mean, you're knocking.
I was a big.
I know Jimmy Anderson. I know Jimmy Anderson.
Jimmy.
There we go. Who can not know Jimmy Anderson? But I mean, yeah, Rory Burns put up a good knock. Hashim
Amla.
Yes, Hashim Amla, the English opener, put in a good knock.
It is Hashim Amla, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Was he South African?
Amla? Yes, he's South African.
There you go. See, now I get stuck with names. I'm absolutely awful. But
either Hasim or Hasim Mahmood. Hasim Mahmood.
I've always wondered though, Connor. I've always wondered one thing about cricket, and we'll move on swiftly because I know Cal's like fucking Avi. He's texting me now, Cal. He's saying, like, "Avi, come on, move it along." He's texting me saying, "Move along, will you?" No texting on shows, but it's so rude as well. Like literally. But anyway.
I just feel bad because whenever I go or I'm invited on a show, I like to do a bit of research. But I'll be honest, I even tried and was like, "What's going on in cricket?" I didn't even know where to look, bro. I'm not even gonna lie, I struggled. I'm sorry, man.
No, don't be. I think Louis he didn't have a clue last week, did he, Louis?
yeah.
Poor Louis, he was like, he didn't know where to look.
The same thing happens to all of us, you know. You guys turn to SummerSlam, WWE, and
and you went off the thing. I just want to say just a quick one on this, because I want to cover a bit of UFC next, because I know Cal's a massive MMA fan too. You know, when they go for tea, what do they have for tea? You know, when they say it's a tea break now, so I think they get 30 minutes, because I know lunch is always an hour in the cricket. But what do they literally have for tea? Like, do they have a sandwich? Is it sandwiches and tea? Is that what it is? Like, I would love to know, like, what the England dressing room or the India dressing room. I think the Indians will have like samosas and whatnot. Like, literally, they would, right? But what do the England cricket team have?
Well, it will depend on what you're doing as well, because if you're out in the field, you don't want something stodgy. You don't want 6 samosas sitting in your gut trying to run around and get to the boundary.
Well, they have a couple of sandwiches and literally. So like Barry Devaney, I hope I've said your name right, but literally tea and sandwiches. I'd just like to know, like, is that what it is? Is that what they have, like, or is it just like a quick break of like a drink and come back on?
Well, they got to eat some food as well, because you know they've expended a lot of energy out on the pitch. But maybe I don't know. I doubt they drink tea. Come on, these are elite sportsmen and not out here like doing all this.
A bit. But so India were at the moment 215 for 2, Conor. Am I right?
And they trail now by about 140. And they've still got tomorrow. They're only 2 wickets down. So if they can bat through the day tomorrow, it sets it up for a really nice final couple of days. Or
day 3 tomorrow?
I think it's day 4 tomorrow.
Got it. Okay. See, I don't even know. It's usually 5 days test match, isn't it?
I was looking, Red Steve in the comments just it's made a really funny call.
What did he say? Listen, I was Vegas last week. Red Steve, that was Vegas last week, not this week. But anyway, let's go on. Let's move on to listen, Cal. I want to get your thoughts on this, because it's, for me, I don't like this. What's going on in these sort of crossover fights? I think it sets a very dangerous precedent. But Tyron Woodley, a legend, I think you can both say that and agree to it.
Definitely.
Against Jake Paul, who actually knocked out Ben Askren, who was one of my favorite grapplers. I know he never did it in the UFC, but a very good grappler on Olympic level as well. What do you make of these fights? And I know if we go back in time, I'm thinking James Toney against Randy Couture. I'm thinking as back as Brock making that crossover, but made a successful crossover. What do you make of this crossover? And has it really stemmed from the Conor McGregor crossover when you went to boxing? And then I wanted to get your opinion on this, because I'm not a big fan of it, but I want to get your thoughts.
These fights have been happening for years. Remember Muhammad Ali and Inoki. So these have been happening since the beginning of time. I actually don't have a problem with it, but what I don't like is people saying they're fights. They're not fights, because Ben Askren meets Jake Paul outside of a ring and they have an argument and get into a fight. Ben Askren beats him to within an inch of his life. Same with Tyron Woodley. They're boxing matches. And I speak from experience. Like, I'm much better on my feet than I am grappling. I've moved around with grapplers standing and I could piece them up for days. But if we actually had a real fight, I've got no chance. Like, they've ripped me limb from limb. When it comes to this particular situation with Jake Paul, I think it becomes dangerous because of who he is as a character. Mm-hmm. I think he's so engulfed in living in a bubble where everything is for social media, everything's for clout, everything's for the moment. He's going to end up saying or doing something one day, and you're not going to be saved by security or by stipulations of a fight. Mm-hmm. There are genuine people out there. Like, there are certain things you can't say and do. And like Conor McGregor, for example, has crossed this boundary quite a few times. Mm-hmm. Jake Paul needs to understand you are going to have to one day answer to what you're saying and doing. And Conor McGregor, because he's an MMA fighter on a high level, can potentially say those things and get away with it to an extent. Jake Paul can't. Like, again, if there was no security there yesterday and Tyron really decides to kick off on Jake Paul, we're now speaking about potentially Tyron being in prison.
Tyron's mum got involved, didn't she? Like,
this is what I'm saying.
Someone had said something to her. She confronted the guy, and
See, I don't like that.
Yeah, it gets messy. I'm not a big fan of it either. I was never a big fan of McGregor Mayweather Cal myself. The pre-shows going out to Toronto and other cities. Yeah, I love all that. But
I love that.
You did love it. You did like the crossover.
Yeah,
you did.
They like the Toronto one. That is probably one of the best presses I've ever
No,
seen.
but the actual event itself, did you sort of think? Okay, did you ever think that Conor had a chance? That's what I'm trying to say.
No, of course not.
So you love the whole sort of showmanship about it.
Yeah,
let's see what Conor does.
Yeah, I was alright with it. I just knew like Mayweather's not going to take a fight that he knows he's not going to win.
Yeah,
and again, Mayweather beats 99.9% of boxers in and around his weight anyway. But he was never going to come out of retirement and turn down that fight of Conor because he just knew he was going to make a cake load of money and he wasn't going to get hurt.
Of course.
Yeah.
The guy is Money Mayweather, isn't he? So
yeah, it's in his name. Like when people turn around and like, I can't believe he's fighting Logan Paul. He's ruined his reputation. His name is money. He doesn't care about his reputation anymore.
Yeah, well, he got paid how much million against Tenshin out in Japan for Ryzen? He got paid what 15-20 million?
Yeah, exactly.
Just for a 4-minute show, literally a 4-minute show.
Like he doesn't care. He doesn't care.
And he's been at a WrestleMania as well against the Big Show. Yeah, that'd be like me and you, Callum, catch rate. You know, me being Floyd, you being the Big Show. In weight as well, because I know you're heavy. I know you're carrying a bit these days as well, Cal. So we'll meet when I'm down in October. Don't worry. We've got it all set up. We've got a charity thing happening. Don't worry.
But you two be in the same weight class.
No, we probably would. We probably
would. A 20-inch reach difference.
But I want to come on to Conor McGregor as well, Cal. Is it because I know we went in depth about that fight in Poirier because I know you stayed up till 5-6 in the morning. Do you think he just needs to walk away now from the sport? And do you think, obviously we know the verbal stuff, it is vile. It is, he's sent a few tweets back to Khabib again and whatnot, but we won't repeat what he said. But do you think he just needs to walk away? And do you think that he's just not got the right sort of, like, I can see Dana White not saying anything because he thrives on that. He thrives on Conor coming out for everyone on Twitter and calling, like he's called out Bisping yesterday and whatnot, said some stuff about him. Do you think he needs to walk away? Or is he tarnishing his legacy?
So his legacy is being tarnished. When we say and speak about Conor being finished, or shout out to Kev, when we say he's being finished or should he walk away? It depends on what he wants to achieve. For me, he's not a top 5 55 anymore. So if he wants to stay around and try and work his way back up to that, fair enough. But right now, for me, he's not a top 5 55er. In an ideal world, Conor should have stayed at 45 for a lot longer than he did, and then built his way up to 55. I think if he had the discipline and was able to get back to 45, I think we could see him as champion again. However, I think this version of Max could do some real damage to Conor. Do I think he'll be a champion again? No. Is he finished in terms of being a champion? Yes. In terms of being a top 10 fighter? No. But his ego won't allow him just to be top 10. He won't. Him seeing 7 next to his name or 9, that's not what Conor wants. He wants to be top 3 or have a championship belt next to his name. And at that level, he's not there anymore.
But is that feasible for Conor? Because for me, I don't think he's concerned with rankings anymore. I think he's only concerned with one thing, and that's publicity and financial gain. I mean, and that shows it by his antics on social media. I mean, the controversy that this guy has gathered over just over the last 2 years. I mean, the guy hasn't won won one fight in the last 5 years or something.
But it's allowed though. The thing is, people in the dark world of MMA, they're allowing this because they want it. They want the attention. Make no mistake about it. The tweets that he puts out,
I don't understand, because
the verbal abuse that he puts out.
You were saying earlier, I mean, there are certain lines that you can't cross.
Yeah.
I don't think there are. I mean, Conor's crossed every single line that there is, and yet he's still here, and yet he's still the showpiece guy. He's that top dog that, in a marketing and financial perspective, he's the top dog that in his view, powers the whole machine. So, are there lines?
There are lines, but yeah, as you said, Conor's crossed all of them. I think when it comes, Conor's always going to be a money draw. But with MMA, what's different with MMA and boxing is you can always be a money draw and kind of still leave boxing with your faculties or not be too badly embarrassed. In MMA, you will get a young guy who's new to the sport and he will put you in a knee bar and rip your ACL. Like, MMA is such a dangerous game to play if you're not mentally focused and you're not training right. Like, you can really get damaged really bad. Like, there are people like Dariush, for example. He's got a very small name in the 55-pound weight division. He tears Conor up right now, in my opinion. Like, that'd be a horrible fight for Conor. In terms of Conor continuing to cross the line, I think he'll do it because I think he knows it will make him more money because people will start tuning in because they want to see him lose as opposed to winning. And Conor only cares about the pay-per-view points, in my opinion, at this point.
Yeah, Gary Mack, if you just want to, I know you're doing a super chat, but if you just want to comment, I think you probably left a comment out, but if you just want to comment and I can put it up. For me, Cal, it's this. I think he should. I don't think he should fight. I don't think he should explore the Dustin, but I think they will again. But I think one more fight with Nate, just call it the trilogy. One more with Nate and just walk out. I think Nate as well could do with it, and just both of them just walk out and
he'll be
happy.
finished.
But you don't think that happens?
I mean, that'll be 5 L's in a row for Conor at the end.
No, I think it'll be a close fight. No, don't get me wrong. I think Diaz and Diaz and Conor.
I don't think he will.
No, you don't think there's enough money in it?
No, there's definitely money in it. I don't think it'll be a close fight if they fight again. Like, we just see Nate fight Masvidal. We saw him fight Leon Edwards, who, in my opinion, both hit harder and both are stronger than Conor.
Yeah,
both arguably have more rounded games than Conor. And Diaz was starting to give them both, like, 5th round, Leon was walking on spaghetti legs. 4th round, before he got stopped with Masvidal, he started looking like he was starting to feel the fatigue a little bit.
Yeah, it's nearly happening. It's nearly happening for him.
Yeah, like Conor if Conor doesn't finish Nate in the first round, it's done for me. And who finishes Nate in the first round?
Yeah,
I think Nate pieces him up this time, and I think Nate stops him.
It's only going one way, isn't it?
Yeah, that'd be an ugly fight for me. But he'll probably do those 2 fights, get a big payday, and then call it a day.
Francis Ngannou, Cal, absolute monster. I still believe. I just want to have my take on this. I still believe Stipe will come one more time. I think he's still got one more fight. And I think it will be against Ngannou. But Ciryl Gane, for me, against Derek Lewis, his stance switches, his just overall, the way he was punching, his calmness, his composure, the leg kicks that he was throwing, very calculated. A very smart performance. For me, I thought this guy could maybe be he could definitely trouble Ngannou. Your thoughts?
I fully agree. I think he's the worst matchup for Ngannou in that division. I think Ngannou
is that because of it stylistically, because of his switch
but also even watch. I know you can't take loads from practice and sparring, but even when you were seeing that, I mean, if Ngannou gets tired against Gane, it's curtains for him. And I think he'll just know not to step in that range where Ngannou can really get to him. Ngannou would have to close the range really quickly and avoid getting hit. And I think Gane hits hard enough to keep Ngannou at bay as well.
And I think that's key as well. I think that's key as well, Cal, isn't it? Because they train together. So obviously one of them will know each other's weakness. Do you think that helps Gane in that situation, or does that help Ngannou?
That doesn't help either of them. It doesn't. Training is training.
I think it helps Ciryl Gane. Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Everyone knows what Francis does. He hits you with mallets and you go to sleep. With Ciryl Gane, you don't know how he's going to approach the fight.
Yeah.
And with Gane, he's so unpredictable. That's the thing. Because he's so technically proficient. I mean, I'll go out on a limb and say this guy's my favorite fighter right now. In terms of heavyweight division, I've never seen anyone with the capabilities that he has. I mean, what is he? Is he 10-0 now or 9-0? I mean, I know he's undefeated.
I think he's 10.
Yeah, that last fight against Derek Lewis took it to 10.
But if you remember that Ngannou Miocic fight, Cal, it could have gone either way.
What, the second fight?
The second fight. If you see the punches that Miocic got caught, but he had landed one on Ngannou as well. It wasn't. I think
he just peed off Ngannou, to be honest, and he said, "Nah, forget this.
I'm gonna go for it." Literally.
Yeah, night. Go sleep.
The last point, Cal, John Jones, for me, the GOAT. the greatest ever MMA martial artist. I don't care what everyone wants to call him about his drugs issues and whatnot, but for me, he's the greatest. Do we see this super fight eventually? And or is it one that's sort of gone? Because I don't think John Jones is actually even like pondering anything. I know he wants the money, and he should get the money. He deserves the Conor McGregor money. This guy, I know he's been through a lot and he hasn't helped himself at the best of times, but for me, John Jones and Ngannou would be just a mother of all blockbusters.
All right. So do you think DJ deserved to be a multi-million pound fighter? Demetrius Johnson, that is.
I think he did deserve it. Of course he did. He just didn't have the personality, but go on.
You're right there, Conor, bro.
Yeah, I mean, that was the microphone tumbling, as almost everybody could tell. We'll swiftly move on.
So I agree. Demetrius is one of my favorite fighters of all time. However, skills are not what get you the money in this sport, unfortunately. And you have to ask yourself, does John Jones actually pull in the numbers? If facts and sort of statistics show you he doesn't. Barring Chael Sonnen and the DC fights, he's not really pulled in the numbers. So, yeah, talent-wise, he's undeniable. Undeniably the most talented MMA fighter probably of the last 20 years. But that doesn't always translate to money. And with the things he's had happen in his career as well, that's what makes it difficult to bank on him as well. Now, in terms of the fight, do I think it happens? Yes, I think it eventually happens. But I don't know if it's going to happen at a point where we're going to lose a little bit of clamour for the fight. And that's what I don't want to happen, because it will be quality to see these two kind of in their peak fighting.
A bit like Pacquiao and Mayweather. It was probably 2 years too late, wasn't it? And
Precisely.
No, good point. Good point. We did miss a super chat from Gary. I think you moved on from the Liverpool chat. First of all, thank you for the super chat. I know you moved on from the Liverpool Chelsea chat, but you guys had a nightmare about Naby. He's literally the best press at the club.
Hey,
we did mention that he pressed towards
Gary.
When
I think he's an intelligent. I don't think he's the best though.
Yeah, but thank you for the super chat.
I was saying, as a Chelsea fan, speaking objectively from the other side of the camp, and this is a point I didn't get to make actually, Jorginho has massive vulnerabilities, and any opposing side who plays against Chelsea should have highlighted that as a way that they can get at us. And the way Jorginho can be got at is if he's moving laterally, if he's going side to side, and if you're attacking those spaces. And who in your midfield does that other than Naby? Maybe Ox, but Ox won't start. I mean, so I saw a few people making rogue shouts of Ox starting. He's not starting. Yeah. But Naby is the type of player who picks up the ball. In a defensive scenario, he'll press you either side. But in an attacking sense, he'll pick up the ball and he'll run at you. And that's what Jorginho cannot deal with. And then you create space against our back three, which creates chances. I mean, for me, it has to be Naby, Henderson, Fabinho, if you're going to nullify our threats and provide something on the counter.
Fair enough. But we didn't need you to give this whole analysis again after we've done it.
Hey, we had a super chat. No. We got to give the fans what they want.
Joshua Pritchard, I want to let him have the final word. Anderson Silva, for him, is the GOAT. Cal, give me a name, the GOAT of the MMA world. Come on.
The GOAT, GSP.
Conor?
The GOAT? Hey, Conor McGregor, he's my namesake.
Okay, fair enough. For me, it's John Jones. But we can have this discussion another day.
Yeah, you know we're going to have to speak about it offline, Naby. You know we are.
100%. But guys, Cal, I want to thank you because I know you're so busy and I know you have shows and I know you host your own show with the Coppish. And I'm literally said where we can find you, but literally, where can we find you?
So you can find me on Team Coppish. Also on here, you guys, I've got nothing but love for the Daytrippers. You know that. You guys have always been good to me, so it's always a pleasure and an honor when you guys invite me. And if I'm free, you guys know it's never a hesitation. I'll always be on, whether it's you, Grizz, Chris, Gav, Keith, anyone. So enough love to you guys and really appreciate it. And again, thanks for having the patience with me this evening as well.
No, so I'll sort you out afterwards. Good shout from Olivia who says Amanda Nunez. But Conor,
female, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, better than Ronda?
Comfortably.
Ronda as the pioneer, though. She was a pioneer.
Yes.
She obviously, but
Gina Carano was. Yeah, she was.
She's a lot of things. Let me tell you. But we'll take that off discussion. I think she's struggling. Usman. Yeah, Good shout.
Yeah,
Good shout.
I mean, that's a rogue shout that he's going to surpass GSP, but who sees?
That's a good
Who
shout.
knows?
But we're going to wrap this up, guys. It's been a great show. We'll be back next Friday. A lot to cover because the transfer window closes as well. So let's see if Liverpool pull the trigger on anyone. And Conor, anything lined up for the weekend? I know we've got the game tomorrow. We're supposed to do a watch along for a different sort of American network, but we've said no to it. But anything lined up over the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be tuning into the F1. That's for sure. Belgian
Grand
Grand
Prix.
Prix. It's been 3 weeks, I think, without a bit of F1. I'm not a huge F1 fan, I won't lie, but I will tune in. So that's something to look forward to. Obviously, the transfer window coming to a close. I don't know what's going to happen, but the climax that we've seen in the last couple of days has been momentous. I mean, there's a potential for Haaland to move. That's an interesting one.
PSG. Yeah, let's see.
Who knows? Who knows?
I just want to plug it. And Cal's a very good friend. He's his wind-up merchant. But Chris Brack actually released a show today. It's the LFC Women's FC club. He did an interview with Kerry Colland, and he's got a new women's show landing tomorrow from the Daytrippers channel. So big up to Chris Brack. Great work, and we'll all be tuning in tomorrow. And I think he's doing the pre-match as well tomorrow for the Chelsea game. So he's an absolute busy man tomorrow, and we'll message him later on. But nice one, guys. Callum, always a pleasure.
Thank you, bro.
Conor, and I'll see you next week. Thank you, guys.
Lovely meeting you, Conor.